Well, we're ready to start our presentation. Hi guys, how's it going? This is basically a little example of how to connect with others that I worked through the concept that's called mindful connection method, which is a gathering of a bunch of different tools. The example involves a couple of characters that I threw in that I'm going to call John and Mary. And the whole point with this is the idea of wanting to keep the conversation really connected between the two people in order for them to create a good relationship between each other is to keep it within the frame of what I call, and here I'm going to add a connection circle. So whatever's in the circle is what's going to keep the interaction, the relationship between John and Mary connected. If it's outside of the circle, it's disconnected. Okay? So I'm going to explore a few concepts that are inside of the connection circle. Specifically, I'll start with John. He has a really strong need for space in his when he has a relationship, so he wants to make sure he explores that. He also has a strong need for love that he likes to get, and he has a strong need for contribution. He likes to contribute to others. The way he gets space is by searching it outside of the relationship, alone or with other friends. The way he gets love is through relationship in the relationship itself and doing things like bonding and spending the time, etc., etc. And contribution is by, for example, listening. And this is just a small amount of examples of the big scopes of different things that John could have associated around what he would need to have with Mary in his relationship with her. But for the sake of the example, I'm just keeping it to three things. Mary likes to have connection in her relationship with John. She likes to have love, and she also likes to have respect in the relationship. The way she gets connection with him is by simply spending time, as an example. The way she gets love is through a relationship with him, and the way she gets respect is by getting acknowledgement, just the fact that she's there in the relationship, and that's what helps her create more bond with him. Now, what the idea within the connection circle is that both John and Mary are very connected to each other's needs and the way they get those needs met. So in order for the relationship to be connected is that they're actually staying within that frame of talking about it, being aware, etc., etc. Okay? Now, I'm going to go with a specific example where these things fall out of balance. So let's suppose they go to a party, okay? And John sees a bunch of his friends there, and he realizes, hey, I'd like to spend some time with my friends there. So his need for space right here comes up, and the way he goes about it takes it a bit out of the connection circle that he has with Mary. And the reason why that happens is because he attempts to do it to spend his time with his friend by leaving her alone at the party without acknowledging her at all. The reason why I put this outside of the connection circle is because she didn't get the acknowledgement. And what this as a result does is it automatically affects her need for respect. So as a result, what happens is her respect just pops out of the connection circle and she gets upset. Okay. Now, this is just one example of what could happen. Let's suppose that additionally, besides her losing respect in the dynamic that she has with him, her connection with him also gets a bit out of hand. She feels a bit less connected directly by not spending time at the party with him. And one of the results of how she reacts to it is by feeling sad. Now, this is not to say that the feelings of being upset or sad are right or wrong. It's just that it's, in some ways, you can think of it as indicators of something that points out that there is something going on within the relationship that's affecting their connection. And by looking at that, they could figure out what needs are not being met in order to work on it, right? So suppose they get home, and the way she decides to address her not getting respect from John is to talk to him. And let's just also suppose that she's not necessarily very attuned to the fact that she doesn't have respect or connection, and the way she approaches him by approaching him and saying, your friends are more important than me. And now, the reason why I put this sentence outside of the circle is it's also because it's not directly addressing what's going on within the circle. So she's approaching him from a context that is totally her evaluating her friends and what's important to him and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times what would happen in these kind of situations is that people end up talking about these things outside of the circle, and he could be like, well, my friends are important to me, you don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, well, you know, what about me? And he's like, well, what about you? I just wanted to spend my time, blah, 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 blah. And they're not touching up at all about what's going on within the circle. And this specific example is the connection, respect, and space, that all of them wanting to get met. Okay? Now, For the sake of the example, I added that John in this example had a pretty strong need for contribution, and which means he likes to listen. So let's suppose he just decided to do exactly that with her, and he decided to listen intently to what she's saying. And besides listening, that he would want to listen underneath her words as well, and specifically aim towards figuring out what needs of her met. So in this case, he could figure out that respect's not being met by her being like, oh, what about me? I'm not important. How could you not talk to me at all? Blah, blah, blah. Or connection, which is where he's saying I was by myself all night. He might have figured out that he didn't spend a lot of time with her at the time. So what he's doing here is, instead of focusing on what she's saying, he's using what she's saying to figure out what needs of her are not being met. And that could be done very casually by through conversation. It doesn't have to be very mechanical either. And the benefit of doing this, if he goes into this direction, is that essentially it loses completely all the aspects of whatever is being talked about, and he's completely starting to focus on what's important. And in this case, it's focusing on her respect and her connection and how she's feeling about those two needs. And the more he focuses on that, the more he can bring their relationship more into an equilibrium of being connected. In this case, if he talks about and acknowledges the fact that what he did was causing her to not get respect from him, and in some ways was somewhat disrespectful in the moment, in order for him to have a successful relationship, and acknowledges that she's being upset and just really listens to that, her feelings for upset are going to go away much more, and her respect's going to get more into the connection circle. Same thing if he acknowledges that she must be sad about the fact that they didn't spend some time together, his sadness is probably going to diminish, and she'll feel more connected to him. And once he does that, then the odds of her being in a place where she's more in tune with her needs and feelings and not overwhelmed with negative feelings or unjoyous feelings, she will have more of a chance to hear him out, that he just wanted to simply take some space off at the party, and that he wanted to do that, and that even though he didn't do it in a way where he didn't acknowledge her presence there, the matter of the fact is that he didn't do it intently to like hurt her or anything like that. It's just that he wanted to have space, and her wanting to support him in having space would be more of a reality, because she knows where he's coming from, because he also acknowledged where she's coming from, so the space can come back into a picture, and they can come back to more of an equilibrium and a working relationship in their interactions, in their overall relationship together. Feel free to comment and subscribe and have fun with this. Thanks for listening, and I hope to post more videos about this.